Assalamu alaikum. This is Layla Abdullah-Poulos with NbA Muslims, and welcome to NbA Muslims Authors Speak. For a while now, everyone's been watching my video book reviews. Now's the opportunity for me to speak with authors as well as readers to get to know them a little better. And our first author who has graced us with her presence is Papatia Feauxzar. Papatia Feauxzar is a wife and a mother of one energetic boy. She's a flower lover and a hopeless romantic basking under her blessings in Dallas, Texas. Alhamdulillah. You can visit more and learn more about Papatia through her websites. I'll attach the links to them in the description box after the broadcast. Welcome, Papatia. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for having me, Layla.
Thank you so much for agreeing to this. One of the things as a reader that I'm always excited about is getting a chance to speak to the authors about their work. Sometimes you feel a little bit like, oh, I have these questions, I have these comments that I want to make, especially with authors who are adept at getting readers to connect with their characters, which in your books, the books that I've read so far, you have been able to do for me. And so I kind of want to talk to you about that. But before we start, why don't you tell us a little bit about your motivations for writing and the content of some of your books?
I started writing because it's a passion I had since I was a child. You know, I love storytelling and listening to my elders and listening to my grandma. And when I came to the US, you know, and I met people that wrote, and it was time for me to, you know, to start telling my own stories. And through my stories, I didn't want to be another writer. You know, I wanted to write about something that would attract readers. You know, I could write about romance. There's a lot of romance writers out there, but I wanted to write about something a little different that will attract readers. That's the reason I went for Muslim romance and a little bit of erotica. Well, it's not really erotica, but it's erotic. It's erotic. So, you know, and through my writing, I wanted to address sexual education. You know, it's very taboo in the Huma, and we really need to debunk it. We really need to, you know, talk about it so that, you know, newlywed brides will have a good time, because there's so many horror stories you hear about, you know, people on the first night. It's crazy. It's depressing, you know. So that's, you know, that's my main reason for writing, you know, romance, pretty much. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but so you're saying that there's not a lot of Muslim romance out there, and if there is any Muslim romance out there, it's not really addressing issues of intimacy at a certain level?
Yes, I mean, there's Muslim fiction out there, but it doesn't really, I mean, the published one, I don't see any published one that are addressing, you know, the sexual taboo in the Huma. You know, that's why I'm writing. You know, there's a lot of people writing about, you know, romance and erotica, but not a lot of them are not published. A lot of them are not published, and even if they do write, there's a stigma attached to it, and I'm trying to get that stigma removed from it. That's what I'm trying to do. You know, you know, sex is a good thing if you do it within our boundaries. It's a good thing. You know, we should be knowledgeable about it. That's why I write.
Is that the reason why you're anonymous?
Yes, because I don't want a lot of you know, attention, because there's a lot of people that will see this as tacky. There's a lot of people that will see, you know, that will try to, you know, come at me for being so honest and open about it. And that's the reason that, I remain anonymous, because I really don't want that bad attention toward me. I don't want zealous people, you know, people with too much zeal, you know, coming attacking me when I know I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm trying to help you. I mean, at least the novice, the people that don't know what they're doing, you know. So it's just a safety thing. It's a safety thing.
Well, how would you approach someone? How would you respond to someone who would say, you know, we're Muslims and we have a more pure view of sex and intimacy, and what you're doing is just kind of bringing Muslim intimacy down in the muck?
Well, they obviously don't know. That's how you don't know. Because if they do their own research, they will see that Islam is not a religion of prudery. It's not a religion, where, He doesn't say that you cannot enjoy sex. Actually, he says you should enjoy sex because it's good for your soul, it's good for your health, it's good for a lot of things. We should enjoy sex, because it helps you with so many things. It helps with so many things.
So, can you give us a little bit of information, just some basics, doesn't have to be anything too deep, about how sex and intimacy is addressed in Islam, in an Islamic context, not in a Muslim context, but in an Islamic context?
In the Islamic context, I read a lot of texts that that vouch for the fact that the more you believe in Allah, the more sexual you are, and because it increases your love. It makes you want to release that pressure, and
Release that pressure.
yeah, seriously, seriously, and it elevates your soul. It's another way for you also to enjoy life here, because when you think about it, we're all gonna die one day, and if you keep thinking about it, you're gonna be really depressed. Seriously, that's all for my readings. That's like that for my reading. So a lot of early Muslim, how do you call these people? Scholars. Yeah, Muslim scholars talked about sex in Islam. They will tell you, you really need to enjoy sex because it will make you happy in this life. And our Prophet Muhammad said, he loved women, and he was a really, really good, really good. I mean, I'm not gonna get into detail about all of this. You should read the Taste of Honey, because it tells you more about all this stuff, Islam, and sex and all this stuff.
So there's a dichotomy here. There is this whole idea that sex is something that's very healthy.
Divine. Sex is divine. Sex is divine. That's what you should get from it. Sex is divine. It's not dirty. It's not dirty. It's a good thing if you do within allowed boundaries.
Okay, so sex is a good thing. Sex is divine, as you said. And so when we talk about things in a divine context, in a sacred context, there's a lot of talk and discussion surrounding it. But it seems in Muslim cultures that's not the case. Hence one of your reasons for being anonymous is you are concerned about the responses.
Right.
And so if sex is not something that is sacrosanct and within certain parameters, why the closed mouths about it? Why are there so many Muslim cultures that approach sex with so much anxiety and fright?
Well, it didn't start that way. At the time of our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Sahaba, the people that were living around him, they asked him questions all the time. They didn't have any problem. So Islam, when it started, people were really open about the sexual problem. They wouldn't say all the problem. I mean, share, spill all the bedroom secret, but they would tell, ask the Prophet when they had issues, But it continued like that until the 18th century, during the Victorian era. There was a problem of prostitution in England during that time. So that's when the concept of prudery started. People started becoming really too goody two shoes. They started to, bring that, that idea that people needed to be so prude. This is not ayah. Ayah is very different than prudery. So that's how it started. That mentality actually, flushed through the Muslim world, and guess what? Muslim people became also prudish. That's how it started, pretty much. Before that, people were really open about those problems. They really, they talked about it. They asked questions, about it, And I read, there was this woman in Medina. People used to visit her and ask her questions, men and women alike. They'll ask her a question about, positions, anything, and she would tell them. They'll ask her, okay, are we supposed, moan during sex? She'll tell them, yeah, why not? It's like that question like that. People ask her all kind of things, It was really normal back then, It wasn't up until the 18th century that everything flipped back. People became very, very, uncomfortable with sex. It was really bad, tacky to even mention sex. It's like, we know everybody is doing it, but why you don't want to talk about it,
Well, I want to talk about it, especially in your books. In your books, Mistress of the Spices and Oblivion.
Okay.
Now, I'm in Oblivion right now,
Uh-huh.
and I read Mistress of the Spices. One of the things I found very, very striking is the sexual power that the women characters had in the book.
Right.
Ada, the main character, and her friend even just decided to talk about and broach the issue of sex while they're having coffee. And the scenes, the love scenes that you have between the female characters and the male characters really empowers the female characters. Now, is there a reason why you decided to focus on the female characters? Are you sticking with the consistent romance genre, which kind of usually does kind of focus on the female character, or is there another reason why?
No, I think that every woman needs to be creative. With a man, every woman needs to blow his mind. As a woman, you should blow your husband or your husband's mind. That's what I'm trying to get across. I want you to be creative. Come up with idea. So that in the bedroom you guys are not bored. You guys enjoy it. That's the main reason for all these characters. Why they're so spicy like that. That's why they're so spicy like that. You said I'm trying to get across that we need to embrace our femininity. We need to embrace our exotic sides. That's what I was trying to get across when I made these characters, because I know I am.
Well, that's interesting that you say exotic.
Yeah.
When you talk about sex, because you're saying that Islam has a history of seeing sex as something that is pertinent to a person's everyday life, and yet having healthy sex is something that's exotic, that it shouldn't be expected.
Okay, can you repeat that again?
I said, does that mean that we should not expect to have adventurous sex? Because you use the word exotic. So does that mean that
when I mean exotic, I'm thinking about something different. I'm not thinking about color, skin color. I'm talking about something different, something hot, something it's not about enjoy. It's when I use exotic usually, it's to mean something that's really gives an edge. That's what I'm trying to do. I may show some sign of English speaker as a second language, but that's what I'm trying to get at. Something with an edge. That's what I mean by exotic.
So we need to consistently be going to that edge.
Yes, exactly. Like I said, it's a game room. It's a game room. You need to enjoy. Have fun there.
Well, one of the things I did notice, there were a couple of things I would like to talk to you about. One of them is the language that you use. For explicit love scenes, a lot of it was kind of tame.
Right.
The reason why you decided to go that route. I know that there's there's a spectrum when it comes to romance about how far you want to go into that bedroom and what do you want to do in that bedroom. But you use the word erotica, and so when you use the word erotica, I kind of expected certain things. One of them was language.
Right.
Very explicit language, very direct language.
Right.
Pull back a couple of times you did, but for the most part you seem to pull back.
Yeah.
Particular reason why?
Yes, like in my offer's note, I put that in there because I was worried that I might shock a lot of the sisters who are not used to that genre of writing. So I kind of like you said, I straddled the fence a little bit. I was trying to be careful. I was trying not to be like, you didn't want to come off too vulgar. I mean, I'm not saying erotic material is vulgar, but then sister will read it or might read it, might think that like, well, that's very vulgar. She could have just used something else. So that's the reason I said it's not technically erotica, but it's erotic. It's not erotic.
Well, I think that the language, I think that the language pushes it to the other end,
Right.
where it may want to be while they're reading the book. I mean, there's definitely a difference. This is just my personal opinion, and I'm sure there's some of my colleagues that Empire State College are watching, and I'm sure I'm going to have a very vibrant conversation one day with them. But it's really my opinion that one of the things that keeps erotica from being, like you use the word vulgar, is that you have a story around it. I mean, I kind of think of vulgarity along the lines of something that's pornographic.
Right.
Pornography doesn't have like a story around it. It's really just about the sex. And your book isn't like that. It's not just about the sex.
Yeah, it's in the middle. It's in the middle over there. You know, it's like I didn't go all the way erotica, but I didn't just make it just plain romance. Yeah, so it's right there. Like you said on the other day when you talk, yeah, I should have just go cock the cock.
Yeah, exactly. You know, call it what it is, type of thing.
Yeah, I was just too worried to do that. I wanted to, but you know, this is my rookie job. It was my first novel. It was, you know, I was very worried about a lot of words, so I had to be really careful. I kind of danced around it. So, inshallah, in the next one, people know what I'm about already. So I'm just going full. They should expect
any pushback from your publisher. I know that one Muslim author who writes romance. I asked him, Nasheed Jackson. I read one of his books, and I said, "I wish you would have opened that door more." And he said that his publisher actually encouraged him not to.
Yes,
so
he
now,
told me that too.
did he push back from your publisher?
No, I'm a self-publisher.
Okay.
So it's that's another reason I enjoy by being, you know, in India. I can do what I want with my writing, pretty much. I mean, I outsource editing always. I always outsource editing, but you know, I make the final decision. Yeah, he told me that too. He's, you know, he's publisher kind of like the certain thing when you're in an interview, certain things that didn't go. So that's the thing. The Muslim, the Huma is very, very, you know, not ready for that yet. So I had to be careful with my choice of word.
Baby steps. Baby steps.
Baby steps. Baby steps. Yeah, I agree.
So you're an indie publisher, and will you stay as an indie publisher because it gives you that level of autonomy so that you can kind of grapple with and decide upon these things?
I think so. I mean, I want to go traditional. Are you there? Oops.
I'm here.
Yeah, okay. I want to go traditional, you know, and I'm making a small step toward it, but because of the autonomy being a self-publisher allows me, you know, I can choose my book covers, I can choose the language, I can choose anything. I can approve of the, you know, if I go, you know, I send my stuff to editing, you know, they edit everything, if they delete something that I don't like, I'll put it back in there and explain why I want it in there, you know.
So you're pretty much an example of, or that independent publishing is not something that is strictly for people. Well, I couldn't get published anywhere else, so I'm going to publish myself. You've chosen independent publishing so that you can
make the final choice sometimes. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, in your book Oblivion, are you a little more explicit with the language, or are you still?
Yeah. I'm still a little tame, but I bring up really taboo subjects like masturbation, like homosexuality fantasies. I bring these kind of things in the book because, like you said, Musa and Ida, you know, they had a lot of, you know, sex in the first book, but now that they have a baby, you know, things start to change a little bit, you know. So all this stuff, you know, you have to read Oblivion to find out.
As soon as I started reading Oblivion and that baby was on the scene, I was like, yeah, you might as well push all that stuff. Y'all was doing it in the last book.
Yeah, it still has a neurotic edge.
God, no, I'm too tired to do all of that. I can't be bending over backwards that way.
Exactly. You have all. Yeah, I mean, it's still. You still have. You still have some. You know. He still has a neurotic edge, but you know.
Okay.
It,
That's good to know.
I mean, I guarantee. I mean, I think he won't be
Because they're a
disappointed.
steamy couple. They're extreme. And it's
Yeah.
that all of that got killed because what?
Yeah, babies are no joke. Babies are no joke.
I have 6, so what hope do I have? Okay, so Oblivion, you said you address things like masturbation and homosexual fantasies.
And,
But you're really going over the edge here.
yeah, I mean, you have to read it to see what I did with them, because I always, you know, try to stay within a lot of boundaries, you know, because I don't want to encourage people doing crazy things, you know, because, you know, in the next life, we're going to be asked, what did you do with your art? You know, what did you do with your gifts? You know, I want to be able to answer the right way. So I'm using my heart to get certain things across, but make no mistake, I'm not encouraging you to do certain things. Yeah, there's a reason why you can do certain things. You know, there's, you know, everything has exceptions. You know, everything has exceptions. Okay.
So what are your parameters? Meaning that you really do address a lot of things. I mean, just the thought of, as a Muslim reader, and I'm, you know, I've read a lot of things, and I have to say I find it really, really exciting and interesting that you are willing to address things like homosexual fantasy and masturbation, because they're realities of the human.
It's real. It's real. I don't know why people shy away from it. We have to talk about it. You don't talk about it, it creates problems.
Just because maybe if you think about being homosexual, that makes you want. I don't know. I don't really understand that. It's just like, you know, there's so many things that if we have an anxiety towards, especially sex. Especially sex that's considered not only taboo, but just unlawful. Everything that's attached to that can be construed as then unlawful. So homosexual fantasy can be construed as something, well, that's unlawful, but, you know, fantasy is not something that's necessarily always within the scope of your control. So if someone's having those fantasies, how do they address it? Well, you know, you're not going to go to your local imam usually and say, you know, imam, I've been having homosexual fantasies.
No way.
Unless you're a really progressive one that kind of gets it.
It's your jihad. Yeah, it's pretty much your jihad.
Just by virtue of the fact that you're willing to address it, that it may be an opportunity for someone that is going through those things to kind of look at it in a Muslim context. But what are your parameters then? Because what you did in Mistress of the Spices, there was a little bit of, you know, a human bondage and things like that, and even some things that I know as a Muslim that are that's lawful, but that's not something that every Muslim tends to agree with, that is lawful.
Right.
Because culture plays a big part of in Muslim sexuality.
He does.
You did that stuff. Now you're going over here too. So what are the parameters for Papatia Feauxzar? What do you stay within the guidelines?
I try anything that's out there, anything that's real. I'll try to bring it in my writing and try to tell you where you need to stop, where you need to draw the line, pretty much. Yeah, because these are the, you know, issues that people face daily everywhere, and they don't know who to talk to, how to address it, and sometimes they're really ashamed of it. You know, so I try to bring it up in my story so they can relate to it. See, okay, well, maybe I'm not really bad. Maybe I'm not crazy. Okay, this is how I should go about it, pretty much, you know. So, like I said, I'm addressing a lot of issues through fiction, you know. And I hope it helps a lot of people, and I hope, you know, they get baraka from it. And again, I hope I get baraka from it too. So, inshallah.
Okay, so there's a lot of additional things that you have in Oblivion that wasn't in Mistress.
No, yes.
How are they similar? Are there any similarities between the two besides the characters?
Yeah, it's still, you know, it's still about the sex. It's still about and now, but in Oblivion, the thing is, there's more of a lack of it, you know, in the way that the couple is strained by the lack of it. But the thing, you know what I mean? Like, Mr. Spices, it was like all the time, like bunnies, and and Oblivion is completely almost the opposite, where it's creating tension in the couple pretty much, and how they deal with it, and how they try to to deal with career and baby and life and everything else mixed in together.
So you had a couple that, and one of the things that you said, even in Mistress of the Spices, one of the things that you did have it was that the couple, even after the honeymoon period, that there were certain things that they had to deal with real life. So, like you said, they were having sex like bunnies, but during after the honeymoon period, they had to deal with real life. Didn't really seem to curb the sex too much.
No.
Now there's a kid, and there's, like you said, there's work and there's family issues and everything like that. That can put a huge damper on what couples had before all of that.
Right.
And so Oblivion is really about how they deal with those, how they navigate through that, and still maintain a healthy sexual relationship. Does the relationship transform in any way?
Yes, it does. They try to maintain, what they had before, and they struggle through it, and they pick it up, here and here. But you have to read to see the struggle and how they make it work.
Now, are the love scenes? Are there any errors that you identify in the love scenes you had? Like you said, Mistress of Spices was your first novel. Not errors, but is there anything you would change, or in Oblivion that you do change about the way you write a love scene?
Yeah, I think in my first novel I showed some things. It was alright. It was really graphic, but in Oblivion I try to be more sensual, pretty much.
Okay.
More sensual. I'm not that much graphic, but I kind of create that emotion of that erotic emotion in you, pretty much. So but but both have their merits. I think I'm growing as a writer. I'm serious. Alhamdulillah, I'm growing as a writer, and some people still love my work. No matter how many mistakes I made or whatever. You have to make mistakes to get better.
Well, yeah. I apologize that I used the word error. I just really meant, is there anything that you would change? So are you moving away from the explicit, or is it just for this particular
No, I'm not moving away from explicit. I just wanted to play both sides of the story, like how they started and where they are with the baby. But no, I'm not moving away from explicit. I have a few stories in the back of my head I want to write and go crazy on it.
Okay. So then what would you say is the difference between explicit and sensual?
Well, I think explicit is a little more rough and more, how can I say that, graphic. And sensual uses certain words to make you feel it, to show you how, it's like you create that sensation in you. When you read something that's explicit, you probably have your mouth open. Oh my, she just really go there. But when you're reading something more sensual, you kind of actually, think about it and you feel it. It's like you get in a state where you feel the sensation more. It's a little different. So two different things, I think.
Okay, now you said that your readers love it. So do you have female and male readers? What have been some of the responses of your female readers?
I have a lot of shy readers on the female side, and they like it because a lot of them had not so good encounters with men in the beginning. So they kind of like that they kind of like Musa, the way he's very sensual, he knows what he's doing. They a lot of them wish that they had somebody like that. Yeah.
Musa definitely knows what he's doing.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, that's good. Yeah, and you know what? I wanted only women to read it, and because of the response I'm getting on Musa, I think a lot of men need to read it and see what they need to be doing with a woman. They need to know how to please a woman. I think that's the reason now I'm becoming more lax on the fact, on who should read my books. Because I wanted to separate the genders because of Maram, because I'm really big on Maram. I think that women and men should do the things separately. Not too extreme, because when you do stuff to the extreme, it brings problem too. But not, men shouldn't be too involved with women stuff, and women shouldn't be too all over men stuff, just to create so that people, that Jerry Springer stuff doesn't happen too much. You know what I mean? That's how, that's a reason that, but I think women will benefit from reading my stories. And a lot of them do actually. They're like, wow. Sometimes they're like, well, I wish you could have done a little more. I liked it. I wish, she got hammered more. I guess this kind of reaction from men. It's weird, right? But
you get that kind of reaction from the men.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, because my story, Freedom Fighter. They're like, yeah, I really liked it, but I wish you get more hammered. I'm like, and I was trying to be careful here.
You rougher sex.
Yeah, exactly.
Your male fan base wants rougher sex.
Yeah, they're like,
female fan base wants you to let the men read it so that they know what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's very funny anyway. Yeah, but overall it's a good response and I like it. Which is good, alhamdulillah. Which is good.
So now you talked about you brought up the segregation. You brought up mahram, which means unlawful. I mean lawful. Unlawful meaning that you can't marry them.
Exactly.
No. Your father and your brother and your and so and segregation between the sexes in Islam. Sex is all about integration between the sexes. So if one side doesn't know what to do with the other side, and we keep everything about being separate, do you think that this mutual ignorance about satisfying a partner will endure in Muslim culture?
If you don't talk about it, yeah. But if we started a revival right now, if we keep talking about it, then people will start listening. Inshallah, it's a long way ahead, I think. But 5-10 years, we'll be all cool. I think it will be. It's a long way ahead because like I said, I did istikara 3 years ago when I started doing all this, and my answer was, it's good for you, but it's gonna be challenging. It's not gonna be easy. So I know already that it's not gonna be an easy road, and I know that people will see. We see what I'm trying to get at one point. I'm not the only one talking about it. There's many people talking about it, but inshallah, people will start. Will be desensitized about it. They will come to accept it as a natural thing. I have hope.
About it, but there are different contexts, and that's I think one of the roles that fiction played, and that it gives a platform for someone to kind of live vicariously through the characters. Right. So it's one thing to sit at an Al-Maghrib seminar, which they have a fabulous seminar on marriage and intimacy. Or listening to scholars talk about it. It's quite another thing to be able to identify with the character and be aroused and motivated to actually want to have sex.
Right.
Have that kind of intimacy with your partner, and even just to kind of know what to do. Because you may, some discussions, especially on a scholarly level, may be restricted to, at this point, may be restricted to, you can do this, you can't do that. I remember one seminar I went to. He was brave, though. He was really, really good about it. He had a Q&A, and the questions he was asked, and he answered them forthright. He answered them, but it's a little different that and being with yourself and the characters of a book. Kind of thinking about it that way, as with anything. So it's kind of about love and sexuality and sex in those ways. So I mean, I think that in that way it feeds into a conversation. So tell us about the Ducktrinors. What is a Ducktrinor?
Okay, so I kind of played with word here. A Ducktrinor is somebody that follow a madhab. A madhab is a doctrine. So a doctriner is a follower of a madhab. So I have five madhab in the story. Before Sunni madhab plus one Shia madhab. But I don't really
What is a
brush.
madhab?
Sorry.
Can you let the audience know what a madhab is?
It's an Islamic school of thought.
Okay.
You know, like there's the Hanafi madhab after Imam Hanafi, the Maliki madhab after Imam Malik, um, the Shafi madhab, the Anbali madhab, and there's the Jafari madhab, the Shia madhab. So each book is after one doctrinal child who's named after a madhab. Like, you know, the madhabs that don't divide Islam. It's kind of like the Sunnah that unite us. You know, like different school of thought under like one thing. Like if you cannot do something under a madhab, chances are you can do it under another madhab. But you cannot flip flop between the madhab unless you have a valid, you know, reason to do so. You know, so I'm trying to, because a lot of people think that, oh, because I'm Hanafi madhab, I need to go to war with the Maliki people from the Maliki madhab. That's really wrong. All these madhab, they complement each other. That's what I was trying to get at with this book. I didn't really go too in deep with the madhab, but I just used that, to show people that it's a union. It's a union, pretty much. We need to
So what
stay.
is the primary plot?
The primary plot is about this girl called Anifa. She's very brave. Since she's a kid, she always wanted to be a courageous woman. And she wants to fight. You know that she loves Surah 18 of the Quran, Sharif. In that story, the story, this chapter talks about the companion of the cave and how they'll come back one day and fight the alien creatures, Gog and Magog. So her dream is to fight alongside with Isa alayhi salam, which is Jesus, who is Jesus, and his companion. So we see her grow and become a leader for the story. As she recruits an army, or she becomes a better leader and better siblings to her family. So the Doctriner is about that pretty much. It's about Islam. It's about also other faith. Um, like included. I mean, it talks more. It's more Muslim. It's more Muslim, but there are ends of Christianity, there are ends of Jew, Jew, Jewish people.
Judaism?
Yeah. Sorry.
Judaism?
Yeah. Judaism. That's the word I was looking for. Judaism. And there's also traces of secularism. People who don't believe in anything. I mean, secular people, but good secular people and bad secular people. And there's also agnostic people who don't believe in anything. So
Mm-hmm.
mainly the story is about tyranny, and how oppression is a bad thing. And right now, the current state of Muslim is very bad. And the story, I didn't even think, when I wrote the story, I wasn't even thinking about, the current state of Islam. I was trying, write a story about the future, and then it kind of coincided with the way everything fell out. So right now, you could say that we're in a time where Anifa is living, because Muslims are really scrutinized. Uh, it's just horrible. It's really hard on us right now.
So what your character is going through actually reflects what maybe Muslims are going through in our society presently.
Pretty much, because you when you go out with your hijab, you kind of look at people kind of looking at you a certain way. Some people are nice, but the majority of the time, people give you that look, and it's not a good thing. And this bigotry, and there's a lot of things, a lot of sentiment. It makes you want to go high quick.
So the character in the book goes through a lot of bigotry.
Yeah, but her family has to go into hiding because religion is being banned. All kind of religion actually have been banned in the town where she lives. So you cannot be Christian, you cannot be Muslim, you cannot be Jewish. If you believe in a God, you're hunted. So you have to hide your religion pretty much.
You're actually hunted if you.
Yeah, if you find that. So a lot of people are bringing like seculars and they try to hide it. Even so even if you're Muslim, I mean, even if you believe in something, you kind of join the secular because you don't want to be outed as a believer. So it's kind of it's a war against the believers, all believers of all faith, pretty much. And the main character is a Muslim, and I feel like I had to do that justice. You know, I'm a Muslim person, so my my protagonist has to be Muslim. No offense to anyone.
Now, do the people of faith galvanize against the oppressors?
Can you say that again, please?
Do the people of faith galvanize? Is there any solidarity?
Oh yes, they do. They do. They do. And her team, her elite team, is filled with people from different religion who believe in what is right. So she, you know, she kind of picked a group of people that believe in Allah, pretty much. You know, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, secular, who don't believe in anything. So it's like it's a union between all the faiths. In the second book and the third book, I'll go deeper and on in that with that connection, but in the first book, I kind of brushed it lightly, you know. I didn't go too much. I think it's like 2 or 3 chapters in the 19 chapters that kind of deal more. It's more of a story. It's in the story, the action about her, pretty much in the book.
Now, this book is YA.
Yes, young adult. Some people might say that I went a little overboard with one tiny little scene. But it's one young adult. It's definitely a young adult.
So one scene, people have issue with one scene, maybe one scene.
People don't have an issue with one scene, but I kind of played a little. Yeah, I kind of played a little. Played with fire there, but I kind of played with fire there, but it had to be addressed because I think it's something that's gonna come in the future, and the challenges of that, you can't ignore it in the future. It's gonna happen. It's one of those things. It's already happening anyway, but you have to like address that issue. I don't want to give it away, but people would know what I'm talking about. Yeah, some people say, "Oh, it made me blush." Some people say, "Well, I can't believe you did that." But I'm like, you have to address that.
These days, blush.
You have to address that. You have to address the fact that it's gonna be one of those things that's gonna happen. So, and how the Muslims are going to deal with it, that's gonna define. Oops. What happened here?
Connection was lost.
Yeah, connection was lost.
Yes.
Connection was lost. Okay.
Almost perfectly.
Almost perfectly. That's okay. We almost
But,
got it.
alhamdulillah, we got through the interview. I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us
No
about
problem.
your work and about the premise of your work, because it's really, really something that is not only fascinating, but something that is important as we develop this Islamic American culture.
Culture, exactly.
Because things based on our faith and our application of our faith, things there will be nuances involved, and so sex and romance and intimacy definitely has its own nuances in Islamic context and an American Muslim context. So thank you very much for sharing that with us, and hopefully you'll join us again sometime.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be on it. I was really nervous, but alhamdulillah, you went well, mashallah.
And if anyone has any questions, unfortunately the live Q&A was not working. If you put questions in the Q&A box, I'll review them and we will answer them. I'll give them to Papatia so that she can answer them on the events page on Facebook. So if you have any questions as well, if you didn't put it in the Q&A box, you can ask the questions on the events page on Facebook, or you can contact the author herself. I'll put all of her information in. Check out Papatia's books, Mistress of Spices, Oblivion, and her new book, The Ducktrinors, and find out more about Papatia by visiting her website. Once again, thank you very much. Jazakallah, Papatia. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
And if you want to know more about the work that I do, please visit NbA Muslims at nbamuslims.com. Jazakallah for joining me. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.